Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zuli. Welcome back to Zuli Blog. If you are new, please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. So in this tutorial, we're going to be building this simple CRM website using React. So we're going to be building all of this. Okay. So this is what we'll be building basically on this website. We have all of this section. This is our home page. Okay, we have other pages like the about page, the pricing page, and the contact page. Okay, this is the about page, this is the pricing page, and we have the contact page as well. Okay, so back to the home page. As you can see, we have our logo, and we have the navigation bar, we have the euro section, and we have other section as well. So for the navigation bar, we have a shadow below the navigation bar when you scroll. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so when you scroll down, you're going to see a shadow in the navbar. This is our euro section. We have two buttons here. This is just a simple website. Okay, we have the how it works section, and we have the service section for different services that the CRM website performs. Okay, and also we have this other section here to manage customers relationship. Okay, we have the sales automation, email marketing, and we have the FAQ section as well. So when you click on the icon, you're going to get the details. Okay, so this is basically the FAQ section. If you scroll down, we have this section to start a free trial, and we have this section for feedback as well. This is working perfectly well. So when you click on it, you're going to see different feedback. I used the same image, so the image is actually not changing. And we have the footer section here. This is the footer section. So back to our home page. Okay, as I'm hovering on it, you can see that there is a color change. Okay, so this is still the home page. This is what we're going to be building. Alright, and this is the about page right here. It's just a little about, nothing much, and the footer remains the same for all pages. So this is the pricing page that we have, and we have the contacts page as well. These are different pages that should be on a website. So if you click on the logo, it takes you back to the home page. Okay, so this is basically what we're going to be building using React JS. So this is it. This is everything we're building. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe. Okay, so this is everything basically. So let's get started. So I'm going to click on my terminal. I'm using git bash. So I'm going to change directory to my desktop because this is an empty VS Code file. And in my desktop, I have a folder for YouTube project. So this is it. This is me changing my directory to the YouTube project. Then I'll use this command to create the simple React app. Okay, so the name of the React app is going to be React CRM websites. Okay, then I'm going to use this command as well to change directory. Then I'm going to use this command to install all the necessary dependencies for this website that we're going to be building. Now I'm going to run this code. So this is what we have in the local browser. I just opened my folder now to my YouTube projects, and I have opened this folder. So I'm going to delete this app.css because I don't need it. Then I'm going to clear up this index dots. I'm also going to clear up this app.jsx. And I'm going to clean this up as well. So we have our simple app dot. Then I'm going to change the title to Counter CRM. As you can see, the title has changed. Then I'll delete the assets folder as well. Then I'm going to create a component folder. In the component folder, I'll start with the navbar. Okay. So in the navbar, I'm going to have navbar.jsx and navbar.css. So for this navbar, I'm going to use REFCE. In case if you don't have it in your website, install ES6 Redux extension. I just imported the navbar.css, and I'm going to render this in our local so that we can see the navbar in our local browser. Okay, so let's start with the code. So I'm using the nav tag and I'm giving it a class name of navbar. I'm also using a div tag to create with a class name of nav logo to create the logo. So the logo name is Canter. Then I'll create another div tag for the links. So here I'm going to be creating 4 links. So I'm just trying to space this out. So this is home. This is going to have home. This is going to have about. It's going to have pricing. And the last nav link is going to have contacts. Then I'll create another div tag for the button. Okay. So I'm going to be creating 2 buttons. So the first button is going to have login, and the second is going to have register. Okay. So let's start with the styling actually. So everything should display flexed. The navbar. Justify content should take space around. Line item is going to take center, and the padding is going to take 1.5 rem. The background color is going to take this color code, and I'm going to add the color. The text color is going to be white. So that's what we have now. For the entire page, I'm setting the margin and padding to 0, and every link, the text decoration will take none. So this is what we have now. So for the nav logo, let's style the nav logo, the link in the nav logo. I'm going to set the color to this color code. Then the font size is going to take this value. Okay. Next is to style the nav links. Oh, come on. So for the nav links, display here, I'm going to set it to flex. Gap is going to take 1 rem. And I'm going to style the links and the nav link. So I'm setting the color to this color code. And I'm going to set the font size to 18 pixels. The font weight is going to take 600. And now I'm going to work on the over effect. So for the over effect, I'm setting the color to this color code as well. And I'm going to work on these buttons. So for the button, I'm going to give it a class named both buttons. I'm going to give a class name of btn. So here I'm going to style it. The margin left is going to take 1 rem. and the padding is going to take this value, and the color, the text color is going to be white. The background is going to take this color code, and the border will take none. The border radius is going to take 5 pixels, and the cursor is going to be pointer. Font width is going to be 600 as well. So this is what we currently have. So I want to work on each button. So I'll be using the end child property. Working on the first button, I'm going to change the background. I'll set it to transparent, and the border is going to take 1 pixel solid and this color code. Then the color, the text color is going to take black. Okay. And the next thing I want to work on is the over effect of both buttons. So the background is going to take this color code. So this is it. Everything is okay. Okay. Next thing I want to do now is to install React router. Because we're building a React, so I'm going to copy this and paste this in my terminal while this is running. Because we're using React, we're going to change the links to, we're going to be doing the proper React routing. Okay, I'm creating other components that we'll be building here. Okay, so I just created the home component, and I'm creating for the about as well. So you can be doing this while your React router is installing. But I'm also working on the contact. I'm working on all the pages right now. I'm trying to create the folder and the file for all pages. So I'm going to cancel each and every one of them. Now, so I'm going to create for the home section and the about section. I'm going to create RFC for each of them. I'm going to create a functional React component for each of them. So I'm just going to cancel each and every one of this. The next thing I want to do here is to import browser router. So in here, I'm going to be using router. Okay. Then I'll cut and paste the navbar in between the router tag. Then I want to route each of the elements. Okay. So right here I'll be using the route tag. So the part here is going to take a slash because we want it to lead to the home page. Okay. So in the element, I'm going to render the home page. I created the pages already. That was what I did earlier. For the second one as well, this is going to take about. So the element here, I'm going to render the about page. Okay. Then the third one is going to be the pricing page. Okay. So this is going to take pricing. This is going to take contact. This is going to take login, and this is going to take register. Alright. So I'm changing this to pricing. This is going to take contacts. This is going to take login, and this here is going to take register. Next thing I want to do is import each of the components I just rendered. So right here, I'm going to import from our component folder. Okay, so here I'm going to import the pricing from the component folder, the pricing folder, and the pricing file. So I'm going to do the same for contact, for login, and for register. Okay, so this is for login. Okay, so I didn't create the file for register, so I just did that now. And I didn't do the same for register as well, and I'm doing that now. Okay, so here I'm going to import the register components. So right here I'm going to change this to link, that is, use it from our React router DOM. Okay, so here this two will lead us to, this two has, it needs to be the same with what we have in our app.js. I'll show you now. So this is going to take home. It's the same thing, it's just that we are changing the A to link. Okay, so the path name needs to be the same with the two. Okay, the path has to be the same. So here I'm going to have the link tag. Then I'm going to go over back here to copy this and paste this to avoid error. So this is also going to take the link tag as well. I'm changing all of the anchor tag to link tag. Okay, so I'm going to copy this as well and paste it in here. I'm going to do the same for each of the pages that we have linked in our navbar. Okay, so this is for login, and I'm going to do the same for register. Okay, the best way to learn is to type while you're watching, is to practice while you're watching. So I indulge you to practice. So everything is working perfectly fine. So if you click on each of it, it's leading you to the components. Okay, now let's get started. Let's start with this Euro section. The Euro section is in our home page. Okay, so I'm going to create an Euro folder, and I'm going to create euro.jsx file and euro.css file. Then I'm going to render this hero section in our home page. This is our home page. I'm going to render this in our home page. So if you view this, we're seeing hero in the home page. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to import the CSS of the hero. Now I'm creating a div tag with the class name of hero. Then I'm also creating an h1 tag for the header. I've pasted it. I've pasted what I want on the header, and I created a pre-tag also. Now I'm going to create two buttons. I created a container for the buttons using div tag and with a class name of btns. So for the button, I'm creating two buttons with a class name of call to action button. So this is going to take get started, and this is going to take watch demo. Okay, this is what we currently have. I'm going to copy this. I have this already. I'll be pasting the link in the description so that you can have access to this also in the asset folder. Okay, so this is the data we'll be working with, but we'll go through that later in this tutorial. We'll go through each and every one of these array of objects. We'll be using them more later in this tutorial. So the next thing I want to do in this hero section is to add an image. So I'm going to import the image from the asset folder, and this is the name of the image. Okay, here I'm just going to use this. Okay, so I'm giving it a class name of hero image. So this is what we currently have, but this is what we're trying to build. Okay, so I'm going to start by styling. For this hero itself, the display is going to take grid. The height is going to be 100 VH. The width is going to take this value. And place item is going to be center. I want all the items to be in the center. The background is going to take this color code. So let's start with the header. Let's continue with the header. For the header, I'll set the font size to this value. Text align center. Margin top of this value. And the color of the text will take this. So I'm going to add a break tag to this. Okay. Next is to work on the buttons. So, let's work on the P tag before the buttons. So I just set the font size, the margin top, and the color. Okay. Next is to work on this button container. So, for the button, the margin top is going to take 15 pixels. Display is going to be flex, and the gap is going to be 10 pixels. Now I'm going to work on this, each button. So for each button, padding is going to take this value. The color of the text is going to be white, and the background is going to take this color code. The border, I'll set it to none, and the border radius is going to take 5 pixels. Cursor is going to take pointer, and the font weight is going to take this value. So this is what we have now. Next thing is to work on each button using the edge child property. So I'm going to change the background color of the second button to this color code. The color of the text is going to take black. Okay. Next is the hero image. So the width of the image is going to take this value, and the margin top is going to take 40 pixels. The height of the image as well will take 400 pixels, and this is what we have. So I'm done with that. Next thing I'm going to work on is this trusted partners. I just created the folder, and I'm creating the file now and the CSS file. Okay, so I'm using RAFC to create the app. So I just imported the CSS file. I'm going to clean this up and create a div tag for trusted, another div tag for the header, and the header I'm going to use an h3 tag for trusted partners, and here we're going to have another div tag for the partners. Then I'm going to be creating 5 images with the class name of partner image. Okay, so for this I'm going to add this to the alt text. Then I'm going to import all the images I'll be using from my assets folder. Okay, I just imported Netflix. This is Stripe. I'm trying to import Stripe. I'm also going to import Yahoo. I'll be using their logos actually. So I'm also going to import the Facebook logo from my assets folder. And I'm going to import this Zapier logo from my asset folder as well. So right here, I'm going to replace the empty SRC with the logos. Okay. Okay, so in my home page, I'm going to render this component so we can view it in our local browser. So for my CSS now, remember I imported that already. So I'll start with the width. The width is going to take 100%. The margin is going to take this value. The height, the margin top, and the background is going to take this color code. Next is this trusted header. Text align is going to be in the center. The font size is going to take 20 pixels. Margin top is going to take this value as well. So here as well, the padding in line is going to be 100 pixels. Display is going to take flex. Margin top will be this value. Justify content in the center. And for each image, okay, this is going to be the width and the height. So this is what we have now. So it's the same thing with what we're trying to build. So here as well, I'm going to create this how it work folder. And I'm creating how it works, the GSX file for how it works. So right here, I'm going to render this in our home page also, because we are going to see this in our home page. Okay. So this section here, then I'm going to create an H2 tag for how it works. Then I'll create another div tag, the class name of steps, another div tag for step, another div tag for icon background, and an H2 tag. Then we're going to have an image, which is that line, and I'm going to import the image from my assets folder. Okay, so this is the image I'm trying to use, as you can see. So I'm going to insert it here and give it this alt name. Okay, and I'm going to have another tag here for sign up, then a P tag. So I'm going to copy and paste this twice. So I'm just going to change the details in each. For each of the steps, this is going to take add contact, and this is going to take import your contact. This is going to take track interaction, and this is going to take let me delete, and you see, so this is what we have now. This is what we're trying to build. So I just imported the CSS file for this file. So text align here is going to be center. Padding is going to take this value. Okay. So the font size for this tag is 2.5 rem. The margin bottom 18 pixels. So I'm going to work on this as well. The paragraph tag. The font size is going to take this value, the color this value, and the margin bottom of this value. Next is this background. So display is going to take inline block. Padding is going to take this value. Border radius will be 50%. Width 30 pixel, height 30 pixel. Okay. So the margin bottom here is going to take this value. And the background color is going to take this color code. Okay. So I'm also going to work on the tag inside the container of the icon. Next is the steps. Display is going to take flex. Justify contents in the center. Align all the items to the center. And flex wrap will take wrap. So each of the step now, that is what we're trying to style. Flex is 1. Max width of this value. Margin of this value. Text align will be in the center. Okay. So another thing we need to work on is the image. Okay, I'm setting the width to this value and the height to this value. The margin top as well is going to take minus 100 pixels, and the margin left is going to take this value. Object fits cover, and we're going to work on the H1 tag. So the font size, I just said the font size and the margin bottom. The color is going to take this color code, and the paragraph tag here, the font size here is going to take 1 rem, and the color. So this is what we have. Okay. So I'm going to change this to IMG because I copied the alt name. So I'm also going to delete this image here. So we should have just 3 images. This is what we have now. This is what we're trying to build. Next is to work on the service section. So I'm going to create the service folder. I'm going to create the file for the service. So here, RFC. If you don't have that, kindly install ES6 Redux extension. So I'm importing this here, and now I'm going to render this service component in our home page. So for the service file itself, I created a div tag for services. Now an H3 tag for the service header. H2 tag, sorry. So this is the paragraph tag. I'm also going to have another div tag for the service container. So this is the array of objects that I've created, and this is what we'll be using for the services. We have icons, we have the head tag, we have 4 objects in. We have 4 object items. So I'm going to install React icons because we're going to need that as well. So go to this link and copy this, paste this in here. So while this is installing, while our React icon is installing, I'm going to map over the service array. Okay, so first I'm going to import the data, the service data. So as you can see, now that we've imported it, we can use the objects in that array. So I'm going to map over the objects, and it's going to take 4 props: icon, head, description, or 5 props. Then I just created an arrow function. So I want to return. I'll start with this div tag. Okay, for this div tag, I'm going to give it a class name of service list. So here I'm going to create another div tag with service icon. So here I'm going to use one of the props for icon. Then I'm going to create another h2 tag. So I'm going to be using this head. The p tag is going to take description, and I'm going to create a div tag for actions. Okay, so this p tag in this action container is going to take action, and the h2 tag is going to take link. Okay, so this is what we have. We're seeing these icons because our React icon has been fully installed. Next is styling, and that's what we're doing. The height of the whole service container is 70 VH. So now the service header and let's see the service text. I want the text to be in the center. Okay, so for the service text itself, I want to set the font size to 18 pixels, and for the service header, I'm going to set the font size as well to this value, and the color of the text to take this color code. Margin bottom is 5 pixels. So this is what we have now. Next is to style this service container. So for the service container, I'm going to give it an height of 60 VH. Display is going to take grid. Grid template column, I want it to repeat 3 per fraction. Padding in line will be 150 pixels, and the gap is going to take 30 pixels. Margin top of 60 pixels. So this is what we have now. The background is going to be black. Oh, let me delete this. Sorry, that was a mistake. So for the service list, each of the services in the service container. So the border radius is going to take this value. The height is going to take 20, this value. The padding in line is going to take this value, and the padding top is going to take this value. So background, let's set it to this color code, and the box shadow is going to take this value as well. Okay, so this is what we have now. Next thing I want to work on is the first element in the service list. So I'm going to change the background color, and I'm going to change the color to white, the text color to white. So for the hover effect on that first child, I'm going to set the background to white and the color background to this color code, and the color is going to take black. Then for the service list itself, like every other service list, this is the background color when you hover on it, and the color is going to be this color code. So this is it working well. Okay. Next thing I'm going to work on is the icon. So in the service container, we have the service icon. Display is going to take inline block. Padding is going to take this value, and the width is going to take this value. The height as well is going to take this value. Border radius will take this value, and margin bottom will take 1 rem. Background is going to be this color. Next thing we need to do is to work on the icon itself. We just worked on the icon container. Now is to work on the icon itself. So the font size is going to take this value. The margin top is going to take this value. Okay. Next thing we'll need to work on is this H2 tag on the service list. So I just set the font size and the font width. The margin top is going to take this value. And another thing we need to work on is the paragraph tag. Again, to set the font size here as well, and the margin top. Next is to work on this action container. So display is going to take flex, and the gap here is going to take this value. Margin top is also going to take this value as well. So it's the same what we're trying to build. Okay. So I'm just going to cancel this. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to work on the details. Okay, so I just created the detail folder. Now I created the JSX file for the details and the CSS file for the details. So I'm going to start by using the RFC. Then I just imported the details, the CSS file for details. So I'm going to add the details component in my home page component. Okay, that's what I did just now. So here is it in our local browser. So I'm starting with a div tag. I'm giving a class name of details. Next, to create another div tag for the left details, and I'm also going to create for the right part of the details. The left part is going to contain an image. Okay, so that's the image tag right there, and I'm going to import the image from our assets folder. I'm using this M2 image. Okay, so in here I'm going to import the image from the asset folder. The name of the image is M2. So I'm just going to import this image right here. So in here I'm going to replace it with the image I just imported, and I'll give the alt text details image. Next thing I'm going to do is to work on this right details. Okay, so for the right details, I created an H2 tag for manage your customer's relationship effortlessly with our tools, and a P tag. So this is the details here. This is the array of objects we'll be using for the details. We have the icon, we have the head. These are the object items we're going to be working on. Okay, so I'm going to map over, I'm going to import this first. So I'm going to import these details data. Then we're going to map over the details array. I need to take 4 props: the head, the icon, the description. Oh, it's going to take 3 props here. Then I created an arrow function. Now I'm going to return this HTML. Okay, so this is the HTML structure that we'll be working with. I created the structure for the box. Now I'm creating for details icon container. So for details icon, I'm going to pass this value icon. Next is to create another div tag, an h2 tag for the details header, which is going to take the head that we've passed as props in there. So this is going to take the head. And I'm also going to create the p tag with a class name of text, and it's going to take the description. Okay, so this is what we have now. Let's start with styling it. So I'm starting with the details. So it's going to start with dot details. So here I'm going to start with the left details, the image tag in the left details. So I'm going to set the width here to this value. I'm going to set the height to this value. And I'm also going to, the object fit is going to take cover. Then the border radius is going to take 40 pixels. So this is what we have now. We need to move this a little bit down. So details itself, the details container, I'm going to add some margin top to it. Display is going to take flex. So margin top is going to take 480 pixels. And padding inline is going to be 100 pixels. Justify contents space between here. I'm going to set the height to this value, 120 bh. The gap as well, I'm going to set the gap to 50 pixels. The color is going to take white, and the background will take this value. So this is what we have now. Next thing is to work on is this right section in the details. So for the right section, but for right and left, okay, I'm going to set the margin top to this value, so it will come down a little. Now the right section itself, the display is going to take flex as well. Flex direction is going to take colon, and this details container here, so the right details, let's start the h2 tag as well before we move to the details container. I'm setting the font size to 30 pixels. Text align will be start. Margin top as well is going to take 20 pixels. Now to the details container itself. So for the details container, I'm going to have the margin top. I'm going to set it to this value. Display is going to take grid. Then grid template colon. I want it to show 2 per colon. So this is here. The gap, I'm going to set the gap to 30 pixels. So this is what we have. Next thing I'm going to work on is this box container. So for the box, the display is going to take flex. Flex direction, it will also take colon. And the width is going to take this value. The height is going to take this value. And I'm going to set the gap as well to 20 pixels. Border radius is going to take 70 pixels. So nothing is currently showing because we've not added any color to it. So let's continue. For the icon container, I'm going to set the background to this value. padding, I'm going to set it to this value, and I'm also going to set the width to this value. Okay, and the height as well, I'm going to set it to this value, 25 pixels. Then the border radius will take 10 pixels. Margin left will take 15 pixels, and the margin bottom will take 1 rem. So this is it. Next thing is the icon itself. So for the icon itself, the margin bottom is going to take 20 pixels. Font size is going to take 22 pixels. The margin left will take 3 pixels, and the color, the text, the icon color will take this value. Okay, so for this head, so in here, I want to work on both head and text together. So margin left to be 15 pixels. So this is it right here. This is what we're trying to build, and we have it here already. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel this, and I'll work on the next thing, which is the FAQ section. So for the FAQ section, I'm going to start by creating the FAQ folder, which will contain the JSX file and the CSS file. Next thing is to import the CSS file into the JSX file. Then I'm going to clean this up and start by creating my FAQ section. The FAQ actually contains an accordion menu, so that's why I'm using the class name of accordion. So the H2 tag is going to be frequently asked questions. So right here, I have an array of objects for my FAQ item. This is it. Okay, it contains question and answers. Alright, so this is everything we'll be using. It's just like this array of item as well. This is it. Okay, so this particular one, I have it inside here. So right here, I'm going to create an accordion item component that will receive 3 prompts. FAQ is open and an on click. So the FAQ is the objects containing the question and answer. The is open is the boolean indicating whether the item is currently open, and the on click is a function that will be called when the item is clicked on. Okay, so I'm going to render a div tag here with a class name of accordion item. Then I'm going to create another div tag with class name of accordion question. Okay, which here, this is the div tag with the class name of accordion question. So this is going to contain a span tag that will conditionally render either minus icon or plus. Okay, that would indicate whether it is open or it's not. So here I'm using is open. I'm using a ternary operator to check if the item is open. I want it to show this icon, which I got from React icon. Remember, I installed React icon initially. So if this is open, I want it to show the minus circle, the minus icon, and if it is closed, it's going to show the plus icon. Okay, and next to it, I'm going to create the question itself. Okay, I'm going to render the question itself, which is gotten from the FAQ object that is displayed above. Next is to create a state. Okay, in here, next thing I'm going to do now is to create the answer. Okay, so if the item is open, what I'm trying to do is, if the item is open, is going to render the answer. the accordion, the answer in the FAQ items. Okay, so this is me here trying to do it. So I created a div tag already for it, and I will give it a class name of accordion answer. Okay, so it's going to take FAQ dot answer. I hope you understand that. I'm going to re-explain again later, but let's continue. So this is it. So for this accordion question as well, I'm going to use this onClick function to call the onClick here, the props that I passed as onClick here. Okay, so what I did exactly is to create a component for accordion item, and the component takes three props: FAQ, is open, and an onClick. So the FAQ is the object containing the question and answer. Is open is a boolean to show whether an item is open or not, and the onClick function is to call the answer when it is clicked on. Then I rendered a div tag for accordion item, another div tag for the question, and another one for the answer. Okay, within the one of the question, I rendered the span tag, and within the span tag, I'm checking if the question is open. I want to render a minus icon, and if it is closed, it should render a plus icon. And next to it is going to contain the question itself. Then I rendered another div tag for the answer, which is going to show the answer when it is open. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create a state open index and set open index to track which item is currently open. Okay, and I'm going to initialize it with null, meaning that no item will be open by default. Okay, so in here I'm going to initialize it with none. It means that no item will be open by default. Okay, so then I'm going to create another undo item click function that will take index as parameter. Okay, so this is taking a parameter of index. So this is an arrow function, and I'm going to set the open index to the clicked item index. Okay, so the open index will be set to the clicked item index. Okay, so if any of the item is open, it's going to call this open index, and if none is open, it will show null. Okay, so right here, all I'm going to do is to map over the FAQ array, this array of objects. Okay, so I'm going to map over the FAQ array. Then I'm going to create an accordion item for each FAQ. And each accordion item is going to be given a key. So in here, I'm creating an arrow function after I've mapped over the FAQ item. So here, I'm going to render this accordion item component that I created earlier, that took three props. Okay, so this is it. That is what I'm rendering down here. Okay, so this is going to contain, it will be given a key. Yes, and the key is going to be index, and also it will be given an FAQ object, which is going to take this FAQ, is going to take the object itself, and I also pass is open, which is the boolean to check whether the item is open or closed. So if it's open, it's going to take the index. It's going to check. I will use a ternary operator. It's going to check if this index is open. If it is open, it will set it to open index. Then I'll use an onClick function here, and I'll pass and I'll create an arrow item for the handle item click. Okay. Then here is going to take props of index, the opened one. So in the home page, I'm going to render the FAQ components. So this is it right here. So the next thing I'm going to do here now. So here I created a state. Okay. To track which item is currently open and initialize it with none. Then I created a function, an arrow function for handle item click, and I passed index as the props. So the next thing I did here is to set open index, and here I'm checking if, oh, that's a mistake. Okay, let's continue. So I'm checking if the item that is open, if it is truly open, it will set to open index. If it is not, it will be null. Okay, then I mapped right here and rendered the components in it. Okay, so that's basically what I did for this part. Alright, so this is the key, this is the index, this is the FAQ, this is the FAQ, and this is open. I'm checking right here, and this is the onClick function that will undo the item clicked. So next thing I want to do here is to style it. I already imported the CSS file, so let's just go straight to styling. So I'm going to start with this accordion container itself. So max width here, I'm going to set it to this value. The margin, I'm going to set it to 0 auto. And the margin top also is going to take this value. So this is it right here. Another thing I'm going to work on here is this H2 tag. I'm going to set the margin bottom to this value. Font size, I'm going to set it to this value. And the text align is going to be in the center. Then I'm going to start with the accordion item. So for the accordion item, the border button is going to take this value. Yes, and the padding is going to take this value. Then the accordion question as well, I'm going to style that too. Cursor is going to be pointer. I want to set the font weight to bold. Then I'm going to style this span tag, which contains the icon. Okay. Here I'm going to set the margin right to this value, 25 pixels. I'm going to set the font size to 22 pixels. And I'm going to set the color of the icon to this color code. So this is it basically. And I'm going to style this accordion answer. So right here, the margin top, I'm going to set it to be 15 pixels. The padding left is going to take this value. Let us see. So this is it. This is what we have. This is what we're trying to build, and it's the same thing with what we're trying to build. Okay. The next thing here is to build this trial version component, then the feedback and the footer section. So let's start with the trial. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm done with this. And the components folder, I'm going to create a trial folder. And I'm going to create the JSX and the CSS file for the trial folder. And I'm going to import the CSS file for the trial folder inside the JSX file for the trial folder. So here I'm creating a div tag for trial. So let me just give it the name of trial container. Now I've created another div tag. Okay, for trial itself. And here is an h2 tag within it. And we have a p tag as well that is going to contain this value. Okay, I'm going to have a button here for get started, a call to action button for get started. Then in our home page, I'm going to render this trial components. So we're going to style this now. So I'm going to start with the trial container itself. So for the trial container, the margin top is going to take this value. The display is going to take grid. And the height is going to take this value. The width is going to take this value as well. We're going to place all the item at the center. Then the background color is going to take this color code. Okay, so this is it right here. This is what we have. Let's continue styling. Margin left is going to take this value. The text color is going to take this value. And the border radius is going to take this value as well, 28 pixels. This is it right here. And the trial itself, so for the trial, we're going to have text align. I want all text to be in the center. So another thing I'm going to work on is the h2 tag and the trial. I'm going to set the margin bottom to 10 pixels. The font size is going to take 30 pixels. This is it right here. Then I'm going to work on the P tag here. The margin bottom as well, I'm going to set it to 20 pixels also. Next is to work on this button icon. So sorry, button is not an icon. So for this button, I'm going to set the padding to this value. And I'm going to set the color to this color code. The border is going to take none. And the border radius is going to take this value. Text align, text decoration will also take none. And the cursor is going to be pointer. Then the font width as well is going to take this value. And the background itself is going to take this value. So this is what we have. Why is it not working? Okay, I just deleted that now. Since we are styling a tag, we don't need a dot. Okay. So the next thing on the list is to work on this feedback section. So in the component folder, I'm going to create the feedback folder. And within it, I'm going to create the GSS file for the feedback and the CSS file for the feedback. So for the feedback, the GSX, I'm going to create this. Next thing I want to do here is import the CSS file into the GSX file. So I'm going to click, I'm just going to delete this. Let's continue. So I'm creating a div tag for the feedback container. So within this div tag, I'm creating an h1 tag, and I inserted this value, this string into it. I'm creating another div tag for feedback itself. So right here, I'm going to add an image. I would come back to that later. Then I'm going to add an h1 tag, a p tag, and another div tag here for the arrow container, which is the arrow that pointing left and right for previous and next feedback, as it is in the sample we're trying to build. Okay, so I'm going to use this icon from React Icon. I already installed React Icon at the beginning of the video, so if you haven't, you should do that. And I'm going to, this arrow is for left, so I'm going to add the arrow for right section. Let's see. So this is the arrow for right section. Okay. So in the home page, I'm going to add this component also. I'm going to pass the component here. Then I'll head back to my feedback file. Then I'm going to work on how to get values for each of the feedback when we click on next or current. So this is the array of objects. I just pasted here. I'll provide everything in the link. This is the area of object that we'll be working with. As you can see, it has image, name, and comment. So right here, I'm going to create a state hook for current index and set current index. Okay, I'm going to do that right here. So I'm creating a state hook for current index and set current index, and I'm going to initialize it with 0. Okay, use states. I'm going to initialize this with 0. Then I'll create an arrow function and name it next feedback. This function basically is to increase the current feedback by 1 so we can move to the next feedback. Okay, so here I'm going to set the current index in this next feedback. Okay, so right here, this command, this code basically is to add the previous index that we had before. Like if the user clicks on the next index, which is going to be the arrow, I'm going to show you that later. I'm going to increase the previous feedback by 1. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is to create the previous feedback as well. So this is basically what I just did here. So I created an arrow function for the next feedback, and I set the current index. I passed this previous index props to it. Then I increased it by 1, and I used the modulus operator to check the feedback length. Okay, that's basically what I did here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to do the same thing for the previous feedback, which I am going to create an arrow function for as well. So for the previous feedback, I'm going to create an arrow function as well. And I'm going to set the current index in this previous feedback function, and I'll pass these props. It's going to take the previous index props. Okay, so the previous index, I'm going to subtract 1 from this. Okay, okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is also to use the modulus operator to check the feedback length. Okay, so this is it. This is the code. So let's see. So in here, we've rendered all of this initially. So for this image, this is the image we are using. I have the image as an object here. I'm using the same image for each and every one of the feedback. Okay, so here let me import that image itself because I don't have it imported already. I only have it as an object. So I'm going to import it from my asset folder. The name of the image is img. That's what I gave it. So this is the image here that I'm using for each of the feedback. So this is it. And right here, what I'm going to do now is to do feedback. Then I'm going to use this to do current index dot the image. Okay. So I mapped, this is more like mapping. Okay. We're going to use the current index that we're trying to view. We're going to source for the image based on our current index. So what we did there is to source for the image based on our current index, and we're going to do the same thing for this H1. We're going to source for the name. So here, this is the name based on the current index in the feedback container. And we're doing the same thing here as well for this p tag. We're going to source for the comment based on our current index. So this is the comment here. Now for this arrow container section, I'm going to use the onClick function. Then, so for the left circle, we're going to be using we're going to be calling on the previous feedback function. Remember, I created an arrow function for each of them, for the previous feedback and the next feedback. So the arrow that is pointing to left is going to be giving us whatever is in our previous feedback, and the arrow pointing to the right is going to be giving us whatever is in our current feedback. So this is it. As you can see, the comments are changing. The images is not changing. The image is not changing because I used one image for everything. So let's style it to look like this. This image is looking too big already. So I'll start with this feedback container. So in the feedback container, text align is going to take center. The max width is going to take this value, and the margin is going to take this value. So the margin top here is going to take this value as well. Then this feedback contain the H1 tag in the feedback container. We're going to start with the font size. We set it to this value. The margin bottom, we're going to set it to this value. Now is the next thing we need to work on is the feedbacks itself. So the border here is going to take this value. Then the padding is going to take 20 pixels. The border radius is going to take 16 pixels. And the margin bottom is going to take this value, 20 pixels. Okay. Then I'm going to work on this image tag itself. For the image tag, the border radius is going to take 50% because I want it to be a circle. I'm going to set the width to this value. And I'm going to set the height to this value as well. So this is it here. Then I need to work on the icons. Let's continue with the H3 tag first before we get to the icon. H1 tag, I mean. So for this H1 tag, we're going to have margin of this value. Then the P tag in the feedback container, we want to style it. We want the text to show in italic. Then another thing we're going to do is this arrow container. So for the arrow container, the display is going to take flex, definitely. Justify content is going to take center. And here I'm going to set the gap to 20 pixels. So let's see what we have now. This is what we have. So I'm going to give this a class name so I can style it directly. So I'm giving both icons the same class name of arrow icon. So I'm going to copy this class name, paste it in my CSS file so that I can style it. I'm going to set the cursor to pointer. Then the font size is going to take 2rem. I'm going to set the color to this color code. Let us see what we have. This is what we have now. This is what we're trying to build, and it's the same thing as what we have now. Next thing we need to work on is this footer section. So in the component folder, I'm going to create the footer folder. The footer section is actually going to appear in all of the pages. So remember that for every other component that is to appear in the home page, we're rendering it in the home file and the GSS file for the home page. But for this footer section, it's not going to be like that. We're going to render it directly in our app.gsx, so it will show in our local browser in all pages of our local browser. So right here, this is me just doing the regular, creating a GSS file for our footer section, importing our CSS file for the footer, and here I'm creating the div tag for the footer. So here as well, I'm going to create the footer content. So in the footer content, I'm going to have the left, center, and the right content. So for this left content, okay, I'm creating the center content, and I'm also going to create the right content. So in the left content, we're going to have this H2 tag. Okay, and I'm going to paste this in it. Then I'm going to create another div tag for footer icons. So for the icons, we're going to be using 3 images. I'm going to import them now. I'll import them later. Let's work on the footer, the center. So I have an H2 tag with the name company, and I'm creating another list with 4 list items, which is going to contain home, about us. It's going to take services, and it's also going to take privacy policy. Okay, so for the right section, we're going to have this H2 tag for get in touch, and I'm also going to create list item as well. For this, the phone number, the email, and the address. These are just samples, not necessarily what you need to insert. So here I'm going to import these images from the asset folder, the Facebook icon, since we're going to need them in the footer icon section. So here I'm going to import the Twitter icon. Twitter is now called X. I need to get used to that. Then here is for the LinkedIn icon. So here I'm going to insert, I'm going to pass this value right here. Use the curly braces, pass the value, do the same thing here, pass the value. Okay, as I said earlier, we're going to import this component into our app.gss. So this is what we have. So for all pages, we're going to have our footer and navbar. Okay, that's how it's going to be. Now let's start styling. So I started with this footer already. I set the background color to this color code. The text color is going to be white. I want everything to display as flex. Flex direction is going to take column. Align item is going to take center, and the gap is 30 pixels. The padding is this value, and we're going to have another padding for this value. Okay, so the margin top is taking this value, and this is just what we have now. Okay, so for the footer content, I'm going to set the width to 100%. Display is going to take grid template colon. I want it to show. I'm going to use this value. Okay, so I'm going to set the gap to this value as well. Now I'm going to start with this left. So for this left, the font size is 30 pixels. The H2 tag in the left actually. The font weight is this value. Then the margin bottom is going to be 18 pixels. So I want to style this left content, center content, and right content. I'm going to add margin top to it. I want it to move down a little bit. So display is going to be flex. Flex direction is going to be colon. Align all the items to start. Then I'm going to add a gap of 20 pixels. So this is it. Next thing I want to do is the right content and the center content has lists. Okay, so I want to work on the lists. So for this list, the list style is going to take none. The margin bottom is going to take 10 pixels for each. Cursor is going to be pointer. Then we have this H2 tag here. The H2 tag is present in all of the container. So I'm just going to style everything at once. So right here, I'm going to set the color to white. Then I'm going to work on the icons. So for these icons, I'm going to set the width to 40 pixels. Margin right of each is going to take 15 pixels. And the margin top is going to be 20 pixels. Oh, let's see. Okay, I didn't add the image tag to it. This is it. So what else are we styling here? I need to add an HR tag to this so that I can have the copyright section below the HR tag. So here, let's start by styling this HR tag. The width will take 100%. The height is going to take 2 pixels. I want something very small. The margin is going to take this value. I'm going to have the background color of this gray. The border is going to be none. Let us see. This is what let's see why. Okay, so this is not inside the footer content container, so I just replaced it now. So this is heat. So basically this is the website we're trying to build. As you can see in the one where the sample, there's a box shadow under this navbar when we scroll, but the one we just did now, there's no shadow here. So I'm going to cancel this and head back to the navbar container, the navbar components. So right here, I'm trying to change the appearance when we scroll down. So I'm going to create a Windows object, and I'm going to add an event listener that listens for the scroll events. Okay. Then I'm going to create a variable that would store the first element of the document. Okay, yeah, I'm using document, the query selector, and I'm selecting this element, navbar. Next thing I'm going to do here is to create the toggle, to toggle the active class on the navbar element. So this is it. I'm using this navbar.class list.toggle. So with this, I'm going to style this active later. So here, when our screen size, when we scroll more than 100 pixels, like when your scroll position is greater than 100 pixels, the toggle method will be added to the active class. Okay. So now I'm heading to the navbar.css to style the active class. Okay. So right here, I'm going to add padding of this value. I'm going to add position. The position will be fixed, right? The top is going to be 0. Design index is going to take 1000, and the width is going to take 100%. Now, the background color is going to take this color code. Now, the box shadow, which is the main effects that I want to add to it, is going to take this particular value, 1 pixel, 12 pixel for 2411, and this color code. Okay. So, and I'm also going to add a little transition to this. This is supposed to be scroll, not screen. So if we're scrolling on the y-axis, that means if we're scrolling down and it's greater than 100 pixels, the active toggle method will be added to it. So this is basically the simple website we're trying to build. So this is it. The next thing we want to do now